All right, TGI Friday, March 18th. The follow up phone call with the arbitrator this morning went like this. Human Resources put out a AMC message saying that if you did not have your resubmission of exemption request put in before March 11th, it would not be considered in a timely fashion as far as giving you some buffer time before you get the denial and a 6 week stay from there if that's the way that goes. However, our argument was, according to the arbitrator's words last week, he said that he would take anything up to now, which we took as meaning any time on March 11th up to and including midnight last Friday. He agreed with that this morning and said any resubmissions will be considered as long as they were in and emailed by midnight last Friday. But again, that's only if you had a previous denial prior to December 28th. Anybody who filed after December 28th, the 29th through March 11th, is kind of at the whim of the city. We were trying to get him to accept all of them, whether they put in an initial one or not. He didn't really want to address that. But what he did address was the conscientious objections. And anybody who originally filed a conscientious objection got denied from the city and was notified Department of Human Resources that you were not in compliance and did not properly fill out the religious exemption and that it was being denied and you had to resubmit it on the proper religious exemption form. Our argument was that did qualify as a denial, and the resubmission, whenever it happened before midnight March 11th, should be considered and accepted, even if it was from the conscientious objection originally. He's going to weigh in on that next week and decide if he's going to take those resubmissions from the conscientious and allow them or not. We shall see. It's several hundred, so hopefully he does the right thing there. Secondly was the discipline. I said last week he was really hinting at the fact of throwing out all the discipline with the loss of time being and pay being just punishment, so to speak, which we were planning on addressing at the labor board and still will, regardless. But the city did everything they could to try and convince him otherwise today. They were bringing example after example of discipline and the range of attached punishments for disobeying a direct order and insubordination. Almost all of those were attached to other violations, even the police board cases, except for one. We clearly made the argument that there's also examples the opposite direction where no discipline has been meted out. There's been 40% of the last 5 years for insubordination have been verbal reprimands. They weren't even time suspensions. So I don't know where this ends up. He still seems like he's leaning towards no discipline. The city made the argument that, for example, the 35 officers who obtained a CR number and then immediately complied with the portal like we asked should be considered as almost extra specially egregious because they did it intentionally. Well, yes, they provided cover for their brothers and sisters like good police officers do. And just because they couldn't take the next step, they weren't doing it just to provide cover. They were doing it because they didn't believe in the policy either, and they waited till they had the direct order to violate it, but knew they couldn't stay in a no paid status, which was why they then complied with the portal and went back on paid status. But it's literally any chance to hammer our members opposed to the rest of the city workforce has been clear from the beginning. I think Arbitrator Romels can end up doing the right thing when it comes to discipline. He did say that there will have to be some kind of record, note on the record of each individual officer for the sustained CR. That could be as simple as a violation noted, verbal reprimand. We originally offered the city a 1 day to get rid of all the discipline on one fell swoop. That didn't happen. I don't know if that's going to be his default fallback, but we should have an answer next week on that. They're doing the vaccination portals right now at headquarters, starting at 1,500 hours, I think they started. Mike Meddy's there now. If you show up and you can't find anybody, please call the lodge. We'll get in contact and let Mike know where you're at in the building. But I can tell you this, they're allowing extensions to get a vaccination. take advantage of those extensions and request the extension, because we've had officers who, under fear and pressure, got the shot, and the very next day their exemption was approved and they never had to get it to begin with. So take advantage of every last opportunity available to you that the city is giving to get the vaccination. Request the extension and worry about it down the road. Don't just go and get the shot if you are against getting the shot. I don't know what else to really add right now. This is still kind of a fluid situation. You know, the lawsuit that's attacking the mayor's ability to even implement this policy to begin with was filed yesterday by the lawyer Tom DeVore. So I don't know where that goes. There was a TRO request. We still have our filing in the appeals court also on the labor component of it, with the TRO extension of our original TRO to be heard again until that appeals ruling is decided, and also the labor board decision. So the fight is not over. The city is pressing ahead. I guess stay tuned, because I'm telling you, we are not going to stop fighting on behalf of our members' rights. This isn't even, as they like to call it, a pissing contest between me and the mayor. This is about protecting our bargaining rights. If it doesn't stop here, it will not stop at all. 2 mass shootings this week. And again, a recancellation of deployment, I should say cancellation of RDOs in certain units to go back out over the weekend yet again. I've had a couple comments about that too. What's the FOP doing? If you haven't been paying attention, well then shame on you. But we've highlighted time and time again about arbitration, not only for the holidays that was originally decided last January, but we're addressing it again right now as we speak. Day 3 is going on of the arbitration for the canceled RDOs on the second floor. We're trying to address this issue. It's going to get addressed in the contract in phase 2 when we get this goofy vaccination nonsense behind us. But we're on limited scope, I guess is about the best phrase I can use, and leverage-wise for what the contract currently calls for in these cancellations. They have to prove that they're necessary, which there's no way they can. They're arbitrary, they're capricious, as the lawyers like to say, and they're punitive. But we're certainly fighting. It's not going to stop, and I'll keep you updated as we go along there. As soon as I have word from the arbitrator next week, I will put out a video. Have a good weekend.